Now that we've learned the facial proportions, we've learned the forms of the head, and we've learned the facial features, I thought it would be cool to do a demo of a head, putting these features together, and also touching on the rough and the refined workflow a little bit that we'll be learning more about as we get further into the course. And you know, I've always been pushing you guys so far to really just keep things simple, be rough, be messy, be loose. You know, we're not striving for prettiness at the moment, we're striving for correctness. And so I will have a bit of a nice look going on here at the end. It's the refined stage. We will get there in time. Don't even worry about it. Okay, so let's get our basic forms in. And I thought one of my favorite topics to draw, just attractive girls. So I'm going to get a head shape in here using what we've learned. I'm going to add a neck in. And I'm thinking about these forms, even if I'm not explicitly drawing through everything. I think about every single form, very much in the exact same way that we learned. Well, in the exact same way that we learned, should I say. Get the nose shape in there. And just get that ear height correct. All right, and we can define the top of them just now. Going to draw more of a cartoony style character here. Get her far side eye in. Use our eye shape, our eye lines that we know, and keep this one more narrow, as we've also learned. Keep the eyelid heights the same. Let's have her kind of have a excited, kind of happy expression, more like slightly surprised, happier type of expression. And I'll actually not intentionally choose to leave out some lines and let the viewer kind of have those lines implied to them. Doing our nose shape there with the ellipse. Then we'll have her looking to the right. And I'll draw her iris in there. Okay, and keeping it rough. So we're doing the rough drawing here, nothing fancy. Drawing those lid lines. She looks a little bit upset, so I'm gonna just want to adjust this so that the eyebrows are not tilted so much. And get a mouth line in there, 1/3 roughly. Can indicate the anatomy of the lips, corners of the mouth. We'll open her mouth up a little bit. Indicate that bottom lip shadow. And get her ear in relatively the right height now. Adjust her jawline. I think her ear feels a little bit too high. No problem, just erase it. It's only the rough. I don't think we'll draw hair in or anything. Not until we get there, at least. So we get to the ear sections. I mean the hair sections, mind you. Okay, draw in the rough of the ear. Let's take that section out. We can rough in those parts that we've learned. Just give her a little bit more of a lobe, an earlobe section. Adjust her head position there. And something that's good to do, whether you're digital, traditional, is always to flip the image, because you get used to looking at the image from a particular angle. And when you do that, things can escape you. Alignment issues can escape you. So I have Control F bound to flip image horizontal, which you can find if you're using Photoshop in the image menu, image rotation. Flip canvas horizontal, and you can bind that in the shortcut keys section, which is here in the edit menu. If you're on paper, you just use a mirror and you place the mirror next to the image, and you can see the opposite version of what looks like flipped. So here I'll flip it, and I feel on flipping it that I wasn't following our proportional guidelines exactly. And I want to move the eye a little bit in. And of course, digital is great because I can just select it, move it in a little bit, and also probably move this one in just a little bit more to the side. If you're working traditionally, you'll have to obviously erase and draw over, but you don't have to do crazy work. It's the rough. So you can just do a little bit of a light erase over that. All right, flip that around. Perhaps in this one, I'll indicate her top lip a little bit and indicate her teeth, perhaps her top teeth a little bit. And I'm going to change the shape here. So when you really have these forms down, it's quite easy to just get a little bit more creative with everything because you know the basic forms. So now you can actually start thinking about creative things like, do I like the way this looks? Do I like the shape of her lips? Is her mouth the size that I want it to be? Etc., etc. And that's really where you find your freedom in art. You find your freedom in realist art, particularly in the rules. You find your freedom in the rules. You know the rules. And so once you know them, it's really up to you how you want to use them, how you want to bend them, and turn it into your own work, getting your own look and feel and your own style into how you want to create characters and things. I think there's a big discrepancy in the eye size here. So I'm just going to adjust that a little bit so that the bottom eye line lines up. So you always want to make sure that the bottom eye line lines up when you're doing layout based on our proportional learning, right? Based on what we've learned with our proportions. And if you have a kneaded eraser, if you're working in traditional medium, that's what you can do to get this effect. When I'm erasing here, I'm using a soft brush, and the brushes are included for Photoshop in the course, so you can download them. And they're very much all the brushes I really use, gathered from all sorts of places, just adjusted slightly so that they act a bit more like traditional medium. But nevertheless, the eraser brush here is this soft brush here, soft up flow, which just means it's a soft brush, very soft edges. The opacity and flow, and I'm using the eraser to give me a nice soft erase. I press lightly on the tablet and I can get a nice soft erased feeling there. I'm just going to adjust her eyebrows. Just make them a little thinner, maybe not so high up. Give her a bit more expression. Get her eyelid in there. This one's in. And I'll then add in her pupils. And just add her eyeball in there, keeping in mind this space. And then can actually adjust her cheek position a little bit, bring it a bit more down like this, give her slightly wider cheeks, and a softer face structure here, maybe a bit of a thinner neck, make her look a little bit younger. And just redoing that ellipse underneath the nose just helps me feel out the plane, right? The bottom plane of the nose. And then I would probably call that relatively done in terms of the rough. And, you know, obviously if this were supposed to be a finished piece, I would do the hair and, you know, all other details. Well, not that there's many more details to do, it's mainly just the hair and maybe the clothes and things like that. But for a rough, this is pretty much good enough. And depending on the style that I'm doing or how far I want to take the piece, I may just soft erase the whole piece. So I'll do something like this, just soft erase the whole piece, and then do a cleaner sketch on top. Or if I want very clean lines, I'll put a new layer on top, or I'll drop the opacity of this layer and do a more refined sketch on top of that. If you're working traditionally, you can use a light box where you really just do your rough on one piece of paper, do your refined sketch on another. If your refined sketch is your final, great. If it's not, put another piece of paper on top, light box, then your inks with your multi-liner pens or your India ink or what have you. So in this instance, I'm going to just do a refined sketch on another layer. And here is where my mindset shifts. My brain shifts. We'll get into this very soon. We'll have a whole lesson on this process, but my brain and my mindset shifts from rough, structural, accurate type of thinking to now more just being creative and stylization thinking, more of a, dare I say, graphic design type of mindset. So everything here is in place. So my focus now is I want things to look clean and professional and neat. I'll keep my lines loose. I'll be thinking much more about line weights now, and I want to get those clean lines in on my drawing. Okay, so we've put in all our facial features, which is great. We're using that structure we've learned for our head from our proportional model and from our form model that we've learned, making things dynamic. And here I'm going to just do that exact kind of flow we learned for drawing the ears. This is the 3/4 one, so I want that overlap to be there. Drawing these lines, drawing that weird kind of bottle shape that then curves. One line here, indicate another one there, put that there. Nope, that's not right, we'll do it again. Possibly a bit of a too thick line weight here that I'm using on the pen, or the pencil should I say, but it's no big deal for this demo. Bring the head out the back. No, she looks a bit crazy, she's got no hair. Just following my forms and drawing the eyebrows here. Keep them very simple in their design. You can see I'm trying to use as few lines as possible, wherever possible. Just keep things simple. Get the eye shape in. And it's really a good idea to thicken the top eyelids line. It really makes the eye kind of stand out and pop. And I can see now, as I'm doing this, how the corners of the eyes don't really meet up super well. So I'm going to actually take this opportunity while I'm refining this to get in there. I'm not even going to draw in the rest of the eye, just for this particular stylization. I'll come here, and I want to make sure, okay, this is a little bit too broad in shape. You know, I've said to us that we really want to have that kind of diagonal, kind of a shorter shape for the far side eye. Shouldn't be as long in terms of its length like that. So this one is about double the length, which is good. And I do use undo from time to time. Pens and paper does not afford us that privilege. I'll just indicate some lashes here, just a couple. I don't go crazy in this particular style that I'm drawing. It's like 2, usually 3. We'll put 3 in. Draw in that eye. And get our shapes in here just a little bit. Once again, I'm not even going to draw the inside shape. I'm just going to imply it, so the viewer's mind can make up that inside shape. And here I don't even complete the iris shape either. Again, I'm implying that the shape finishes. And implying as much as you can, not too much, obviously. No, you have to have some indicator details to help the viewer's mind complete those shapes, but implying helps a piece feel very natural and not forced, not overly detailed, that you're kind of micro detailing. Not that I'm saying you don't need to draw, or that you shouldn't draw in the full iris shape, for example, but sometimes you can just imply it and the viewer's mind takes care of the rest. And it's a great time saver for us as well, especially when you want to get a lot of work done quickly. Okay, draw in those pupils. I'll put in highlights just for fun. Put in her eyelids. And you can see I don't stick exactly to plan, especially in the sake of, in the interest of looseness. I'll just put a nice sweeping, loose, dynamic, directional line with that nice taper in there. Get her nose in. Just kind of give it a softer bend. Put in the nostril. Once again, more implying detail here. I'll just kind of darken the top section of it up so it looks more like a nostril. I could put in that wing line. Maybe I don't have to based on the style. Right. I'll just lightly indicate the top lip. Draw in that top lip line. Using the details we've learned. Darkening that top lip line because it's important to do. Remembering the face is round. I know I went on a bit about that. Corners of the mouth. Let's pull this shape down a little bit there. And then stretch it on the far side. Apply her teeth shape, keeping it round. For the sake of this, I'm just going to darken this section just by adding some lines to shade it in there. And the bottom lip shadow here. All right, and in a nutshell, that is really our adding our facial features demo with a refined stage on top, just to make things look a little cleaner and neater. But for your purposes, I would strongly encourage you to just stay at the rough stage and make sure everything's right. And when you feel that it is right and everything's in its right place and the proportions make sense and the work feels good to you, then move on to the refined stage. But most of the time, you want to spend as much time as you can on the rough stage and make sure everything really is correctly placed, located, and positioned before you get to your refined stage. And this is the end of the demo. Let's move on.